Hello and welcome. This is the discovery phase of target applications, and the targets hosts running web applications and collecting all the data from the websites and the front-facing segment of web applications. So as a pen tester, you will always face a time limit in which you have to complete all your work and submit a report. So keeping all this in mind, there is a tool that is Eyewitness, and luckily there is also a HTTP screenshots that take a screenshot of all the websites and that you provide the link, meaning that these both tools automate the process of taking screenshots of the website and the front-facing side of the websites. Because if you are going to test a large number of websites and a large number of web pages, you will not have time to navigate to all the links and click one by one to see what is the headers in order to fingerprint the web servers and web applications. So at first I will start with Eyewitness. That is really a superb tool, and it doesn't take a lot more time. So using this is not a big deal. Simply type the command. At first you need to provide a target list. Here you can see that there is a target.txt file. You can create a text file and provide the IP address and the URLs to fingerprint and to take a screenshots. So at first I will open it and enter the IP address in the target list. Now type target IP address with the CID range or the web URLs. I am taking all these for the examples. So if I am using the Facebook, then it is TLS supported. Now save this file. By using simple command that is eyewitness.py, you will find a lot more useful help commands that will tell you how to use this tool and take screenshots in a better way. You can use also the proxy and active scans as well. But what I use all the times is all protocols commands that supports all these four. So it is better to type all these, or if you want to use a standalone command, then you can also use provide the file name with all protocols and hit enter, and it will start taking snapshots. As a pen tester, it is always a better idea to use automated tools if you have the options to save more times for the analysis of vulnerability findings and information gathering. Alright, as you can see, the file has been saved in this folder. I will move to that folder and see what is there. There was 34018. I will move to that folder. That has been saved in the HTML format. I will open with the Firefox. It also faces the header informations from the target sites. Here is the lists that you can see. There is the X-content type options, that is the header, and this is the screenshots it have taken for me. And there is the error for the webscantest.com and for the greyhatacademy.com. There was the timeout. So in this way you can save your a lot more time in a penetration test to collect the informations and speed up the pen testing. Use this tool and explore all the commands what you can use in a pen test to save a lot more time and for your work. Hello and welcome. This is the vulnerability assessment and vulnerability scanning module, in which I will be demonstrating a tool that is so-called Nessus vulnerability scanner. This vulnerability scanner is obviously free for the home users, and if you are going to use in the professional manner, then it will be asking you to purchase a license key that is nearly about $2,000 US. Well, I'm just going to install it on the computer system that is in the Kali box, Kali Linux box. So here you can see on my screen that I have installed it with the Debian packages that I have downloaded, and all the installation process is going through the shell prompt. And after the installation, you can see there is how to start with this command, and it will be listening on the localhost port, localhost and port number 8834. So just you can follow these commands and follow these instructions to install it in your Kali Linux box or whatever the Kali Linux versions you use, or any hacking box that you use. So in this case, I have just installed into my Kali box, and to start it, you just need to issue the command. In this case, it is etc and followed by the Nessus server. Just hit the command start, and because I am just running this in the background, it is already I have issued this command, so this is running. And now I need to point the browser to the IP address on my local host and the port number 8834. So as you can see, this is the same localhost and the port number. So when you will be just installing on your computer system, and upon just pointing your browser to the localhost and the port number 8834, you will be asked to provide a license key for the home user that you have already registered and received through the mail ID. So in this case, you will be just you need to insert that license key and just put your create your username and password for the same. So I have just already created for myself, and in this case I will be just log in with the ID and password, so that it will be just login. Well, you can see this is the login screen, and I have logged in, and I have already performed the advanced scan. I will be showing you what is inside this one scanning. So let me first introduce it about what it scans and what the vulnerability database and what the features it have. So simply, if you are going to scan with the Nessus scanner, vulnerability scanner, then you just need to click the new scan, and it will be asking you the plugins or the vulnerability category that you want to scan. Suppose in first case, I want to discover the host discovery. I want to discover that the live host, that the target system is running, it is live or not. So in this case, I will just use host discovery, provide the name, whatever the name you type, and description is optional, and provide the IP address, that is metasploit WPA IP address in my case, and just going through the discovery. This is all the setup, how you set up according to your needs. So here is the scan type. You can just choose if you want to port scan, then it is common port scan will be scanned from 0 to 1024. That is the commonly known port numbers. So in this case, I will also be used port scanning, and just I will save it. And you can see there is a in the scan category, there is a scan has been created with this one that I recently created live disk. So in order to whenever the configuration has been just configured, now we need to just click the launch button, that is similar like the play button, and the scanning will be running it in behind this screen. So once this is running live and scanning the target, you can see this is running mode. You can just click this module and it will be showing the results, that what it has gathered for you and whatever the port numbers it have gathered for you at this time till now. So you can see this is the 26 informations it have provided till now, and the 59% has been completed. And going through the scene scanning, because it is by default using the scene scanning process to just enter the firewall mechanism, like if there is any security mechanisms, then it will be bypassed, because of the scene scanning is the half open scanning. Here you can see the results that have been shown here. There is the port numbers that it have discovered till now. Okay, going back, and you can see this is the ping request that it have made recently, and let it going through, and we'll be just stopping this one because you have already seen that what it have gathered for the port scanning sections. So I will be just Okay, you can see this is completed now. Okay, going through the advanced network scanning that I have already made, you can see what the information and what the vulnerability have been gathered in the advanced section. Okay, just clicking, and here you can see the graph that is showing the critical, high and medium and low, and the information label that it can be exploitable. It is totally exploitable when you see in the red mark, that is the critical and the high. Okay, now you can see here is one example that it can be exploitable, and it is fully exploitable because the VNC server running on the metasploitable is with the default password, that is the password. See the simple password that you can just run the VNC client and connect to it, and simply put the password and the IP address of the metasploitable to, and it will be just connecting with the by default passwords. So this is the critical situations where it should not be present in any computer, because it is fully exploitable. By this method you can just put the IP address and password and hit exploitation. Okay, one another method that I will be going to show is this also supports more plugins like it also scans web applications. Like let me show you. Just click the next scan, and you can see what it supports. When you see there is a flag that is saying upgrade, so this module will not be used because it is available in purchased and the licensed version, and from the professional version. You can visit the website enable.com and you will find the details about this one. And any module that have no any flags that is saying upgrade, you can use it freely, and this is fully supportable in this version. So here is mobile scan as well, and it also supports PCI compliance, PCI DSS compliance, that if the site is just supporting and just using all the requirements and the standards that supports the PCI DSS, and it is fully equipped with it or not. So in this case it will also scan for that, but this is only available in the professional version of the Nessus. So this is the web application tests, the scan for published and unknown web vulnerabilities. So just click this one module and the plugins and provide the details of the targets, and it will be just doing all this stuff for you. Well, there is another options as well, like you can also create your policies, that how the Nessus will be scanning all the hosts and all the targets for you. This is the policies I have created. You can also create by going to the new policy, clicking on the new policy, and just use one of them and modify it according to your needs. Suppose web application test could be modified by me, so I will be just typing the name and the description for it, and everything you can save here and use and access, if this is accessible through your ID or not, or from other agent that is connected with your Nessus server. It can also be used in multiple nodes, but this is not available in the home version. So here, according to your needs, you can just modify the policies and create your own policies and just save it for later use. Because if you are going through a penetration testing engagement and performing a vulnerability scanning and a vulnerability assessment, obviously you will have a different situation in which your client will be asking that how you perform and any host should be excluded or not, or according to their client needs, you need to just scan and find the vulnerability. So in this case, I have just created one again. So when you are going to scan a new target and you want to use your created policy, then you can just create a new scan and just select from here if you want to filter this one. This is your created, this all these module and plugins have been created by you, and just select this one that I created recently, and it will be scanning for and it will be going to just provide the name and put the IP address or the way we're going to this example, and the rest of the things we'll be doing by this Nessus scanner. So finally, this scanner is really a fantastic, but only if you are going through a professional version of this one. So in my recommendation, if you are not going to purchase this one, just you download this one that is free for the home use, and install it in your Windows, either Windows version or on the Linux box or any Linux operating systems you want of your choice, and just use it and explore all the features that it have, because it supports many features. Suppose if you want to just because if you are going through a penetration testing engagement, you obviously need to export the results and provide the results to the customer and your client. So there is export facility as well, so that in which you can just export in the various formats like PDF, HTML, CSV, and it will be providing in every details in one place to just hand over this scanning results to your client. So it will be doing all the things from scanning, from host discovery, from pinging the networks, and exporting all the results in the PDF or your choice of suitable format to provide the clients every details. So what I have done is just simply click the PDF version to export, and it will be just doing all the things like putting all the results in one place and saved in PDF format. Obviously it will take some time to generate and take all the results in one place. Okay, there is a export and the results is ready. Just simply save this and it will be downloaded here. Okay, now it has been opened and you can see all the details that have provided by this in one place. Simply click this, your target IP address, what you have scanned, and everything is in precise manner that what you have scanned, how many issues, and what is critical, and how many highs vulnerability have been present in the IP address of the target system, your computer system you have provided. So this is the simply, and there is a lot more feature. You can see there are large databases of vulnerability the Nessus have that are both unpublished and published. So if you want to just explore the target and find the vulnerability with this one, then you must use this if you are going through a penetration testing engagement with your client. So use on your own pace and explore all the features that it have. Thank you. Hello and welcome. As of now, you have performed reconnaissance and find target information in order to perform and proceed the further steps for the penetration testing. So now this is the vulnerability assessment and vulnerability scanning sections and the lectures in which I will show you how to perform vulnerability assessment and scanning in a penetration testing phase and engagement with a client with wide range of open source tools that have almost same capability in comparison with the commercial grade tool to find vulnerabilities. Well, at this time I am talking about a decent vulnerability scanning and open source tool that is called Open Vulnerability Assessment System. In short, it is OpenVAS. OpenVAS is a great tool for finding vulnerabilities as it performs different configurations, authenticated scans, create and generate reports, and more interestingly, it can run in multiple nodes and distributed nodes to save time and work with many agents. So while you are going through the penetration testing engagement, then you can just run it on multiple nodes and save the time while you are working in a team. So well, this open source tool that is OpenVAS, you can download in your Kali Linux using this URL. Follow this URL and you can install it into your computer system and the Kali Linux box. I will skip this installation process because it will take a lot more time to install itself into your computer system. in your Kali Linux box. So using these options and the instructions provided on the kalilinux.org website, you can find and install in your computer systems easily. But going through these installations, you will find many lags that it have, because it also supports the Redis server. So in order to make a Redis server running with support of this tool, you need to make some configurations and change a little more configurations in the Redis server configuration file. So just simply follow these steps and go to the etc directory and just search redis.conf and open it with your favorite text editor. At this time I have to just edit the configuration file in order to listen on a Unix socket. You can see here by default it doesn't listen on a Unix socket. It has not been supported for the Unix, so you need to make a configurations a little bit. I have made a configurations, so this is the working configurations for me, and for you it will also be for you. So just go through this path and change your configuration file of the Redis server. Well, after saving this, you need to, whenever you have just completed the setup and installations, you need to check that and start the Redis server with its recently configured configuration files in this way. So just follow these steps, Redis and redis.conf. After hitting this command, it will run and pick up the configuration files that you made changes and started to listen on the Unix socket. So after that, if you just want to check that it is working or not, so type the net state and you can check this with this it is working or not. So for my case it is working on this port, so it will in the listen state. And after this command you need to just make one thing, just type this command OpenVAS check setup after the setup has been completed in your Kali Linux, and it will go through the checking all the installations and all the services and the scanners are running all perfectly or not, so that if there is any issues and any errors, it will provide the fix for that on the same shell prompt to start and working again. So in this case it seems like your OpenVAS installation is okay and it is working fine. So there is no any mistakes in the configuration files and it is working fine. Now it's time to just start your OpenVAS and just point your browser to this IP address and the port. There is a localhost IP address and the port 9392, and while at the time of installation you have got your login credentials. So for my case it is, I have already made for my one. You can also add a user for this tool. You can add manually, and it needs at least one administration administered. Means suppose you are going to scan, so there will always need of administrator. So the first user will be the administrator in this kind. So well, I have already scanned a target that is with the name of Val, and I have stopped at 82%. So because it takes a lot more time to scan even a single target, so that's why I have already scanned. So but don't worry, I will just train you how to configure and how to start and how to analyze the reports. So in this way you have to just click configurations and go to the targets. Okay, after going to the target, just click this star, new target. After this has been opened, just provide a name. Any name can be. You can comment it for what scan it is going, and just provide the IP address or the host that you are going to scan. In my case, it is my metasploitable vulnerable virtual machine. So in this case, it will be, and exclude the host that you want to not scan that. because there may be working environment and the project and the working computers and the host that are really in a working environment, so it must be excluded from the target in order to stop the harassment with that host and stop working. So suppose if there is any development processes going on with some host and you just scan that, and because it will just brute force with many packets and in order to scan and get the results. So that's why it is recommended to ask your client which IP address and which nodes and which IP host should not be scanned by this one or any tool that you are using for the vulnerability scanning. So in this case, I will just skip this one. This is the port list that you can make which port should be scanned. In this case, I have made this all assigned port that is in the TCP, and this is the configurations files that it will test that the target system is running or it is live or not. So in this case it should be a scan config default and just create a target. I have created a target with the name of a tool. Okay, when this has been completed, you need to add a task. There are a lot more features in this tool that you can use, like you can use scheduled tasks that can be used later, 2 days later, or the scan will be running weekly or in a monthly basis. So there are a lot more features. You have to just explore every tabs and get what information and what the features it provides for you and what is suitable for you in going through the vulnerability scanning phase of penetration testing. So in this case, I have to just create a task. So in this case, I will just click this one star and just put the new task that what it will be going to scan. So in this case, I will just type new task, and option will be demo, and the target scan host that it is going to scan. I have already scanned this gray head, so in this case that I recently created this one, that is a tool. Well, there is an alert that it will just tell you that any triggered, if it is triggering something fishy, like if you just say that it will trigger upon 5 minutes, or it will trigger upon finding vulnerability like SQL injection or cross-site scripting or cross-site request forgery, then you can just put it here, but you need to define first. So in this case, I will just leave this and skip this one. This is the main phase of scanning. So in here you have to this will be default, but scan configurations will be according to your choice. So in this case, I will just put full and fast. This will scan each and every vulnerability it will match with every vulnerability and in a fast condition. So this one is the better option to use while you are going to find a vulnerability in a short period of time. So just create a task, and it will just create a task. Now you can start scanning the targets with the host provided by you. So here you can see there is a new task, that is the demo, and this is new. This was the stop rate 82%. So just after this everything has been done, you have to just click this one play button. It will be started and it will find many vulnerabilities that it consists that it have in their database of the OpenVAS tool, and it will match with the target host. So as you have already seen, there is more than 80,000 vulnerabilities it contains. So there are many more chances that it will pick up more vulnerabilities and findings. So let me show you how I have just scanned this one target. This is the vulnerable virtual machine metasploit WPA2. I scanned 5 minutes ago. So let's see what is the finding of this tool, and what is the finding, what you have found for me that is maybe useful. And so main motive to use this tool and find the vulnerability and perform the vulnerability assessment is to just figure out what vulnerabilities the target systems exists, and after that the next step will be to exploit the target with the vulnerabilities found. Let's see an example. Here you can see there is a PHP MyAdmin code injection and XSS vulnerabilities. There is the risk rating of high. This must be configured to not perform the code injection and to sanitize the XSS vulnerability, but it have. So let's see how it can be exploited and what is the benefit of using this tool. Well, PHP MyAdmin is prone to a remote PHP code injection vulnerability and a cross-site scripting vulnerability. Well, how to produce this vulnerability is the main motive. So main motive behind this scanning will be just vulnerability detection method that is this tool used. Here you can just click this one and you will be finding how to just reproduce that vulnerability and just take over that server and perform the XSS vulnerability and XSS attack once again. Because this tool have only found it for you, but you have to just exploit the target with the help of XSS vulnerability. And what the vulnerability is saying all about is you can find here every details about the PHP MyAdmin. And this is the CVE, that is the common vulnerability and exposure, that will tell you what is the vulnerability and how it could be reproduced to exploit the target system. So in this case, clicking this one will just open up how to exploit this one. So going deeply, well, when everything has been completed, every scan has been completed, now this is the time to get and generate the report and create the report for your client. Because obviously if you are going for a penetration testing phase, it will be asked that what you have done for me and what for the company, just show me. So you can see this is the static code injection vulnerability in setup.php file and PHP MyAdmin. Related informations and all the things that can be done here, and find this is the confirmation page and how it have found it, and it will show you a lot more information about it. Well, I was just talking about how to produce the result in the end of scanning and vulnerability scanning and finding. So just go to the home page. Here you can see there is a refresh results. You can refresh this one and many things that can be done here. Just click this one that you want to generate report. So in this case, I want to generate the report of this one scan. That is already provided and found the many vulnerabilities in it. So all the details will be combined in one. It supports many export formats like PDF, CPE, CV, HTML. So to demonstrate here, the best way to show you how it works is the HTML format, because just exporting the PDF format will take a lot more time. So in this case, I will just open it with the Firefox and it will just show you in a constructed manner. Every vulnerability has been in one page and with the categories wise. Here you can see this is the details of the scans. There is a 13 high level of vulnerabilities and a medium level of 32 of vulnerabilities found and low level of 4. There are 76 logs as well. So by this method, you can by using this tool, you can find the vulnerabilities and use this tool to figure out what vulnerabilities exist in the target system and what the misconfigured services and many exploitations that can be done after the vulnerability has been found. So you can see there is a risk rating of high that can be used to exploit the target. Well, I will just reconstruct all the vulnerabilities and find and just exploit this one in the exploitation section. So for you, this is the recommendation that you just install it in your computer system and use this on your own pace to find and figure out how this tool is running and what is useful for you while you are going through a penetration testing and using a vulnerability scanning phase. Thank you. Hello and welcome. Going through a vulnerability assessment and scanning phase, There is a lot more tools that can be used freely, and there is also a freely available tools that can be used. While going through the web application assessment and the vulnerability scanning, you will find a tool that is Nikto. That is little and handy tool that can be used to figure out what web servers and what is the parameters that have been saved for the targets and for the front web applications. It will provide almost every information regarding the web server and web server version, and it will also just grab the banners of the web server as well. So this tool can be, you can just find it to this tool helpful to start the vulnerability scanning of the web applications. Just type simply Nikto and it will be providing you with the results. What I use is simply use the host and provide the IP address or the target details. Like you can also provide the website address as well if you are scanning and attacking the website and the web server. In this case, I am using metasploit, so it is running the web server as well. So that's why providing the IP address of that, and with some other features that can be used like mutate with the options that will enumerate, and the tuning that will scan all the SQL injection and cross-site scripting and all the vulnerabilities related to the web applications and web servers. In this case, tuning will be X. It will use all the features. And the one interesting is the evasion. It will be just it may just bypass the web application firewalls and some security mechanisms with a switch 7. And finally, if you want, you can use the proxy servers to proxify your network connections to connect to the target to just get rid of all the legal implications. And at the rest, I will just save this in the output file to analyze the results of the vulnerability scanning and what the vulnerability has been discovered till now. So for that, you need to put the output and with the name, and the extension that will be used in this extension it supports is the format. It supports a CSV and HTML, and also from the Nessus and then expose and in the text format. So what I simply do is to save in the HTML format to view what the vulnerability has been discovered till now and at the final. So just hitting the enter, it will just take a 1 to 2 couple of minutes and the scan will be finished. As you can see, all these things have been started, and the Apache and the banner have been just grabbed by this one, and all this information and the discovery of vulnerability that it has saved will be just resulted in output format, that is the HTML, and it doesn't take a lot more time. It just, this tool can be used to start the vulnerability scanning with the target details, and it may be you may have the target vulnerable details like what is the web server and what is the versioning of the web servers and what is the directory, default directory that has misconfigured or not. All these things have been saved. So if you start Firefox or your favorite browser, and just you can open with that. And all the vulnerabilities that it have discovered yet will be presented in HTML format. So you can see all the details and the vulnerability it have found is presented here with lots of details. So it is recommended to use on your own pace and just explore these tools, because this tool is always helpful to start vulnerability scanning. Thank you. Hello and welcome. Scanning web applications for the vulnerabilities becomes too much easy while going through a Nikto scan, because Nikto is a very powerful tool for the web applications analysis. In a short period of time, I will scan web applications and find the vulnerabilities with the simple commands, and that's it. If the target web applications are vulnerable, it will display all the vulnerabilities with the references and possible details that can be used further to attack the target system and report to your client. It have reported almost all the vulnerabilities that I am scanning at this time, and this is really a crucial phase of the web applications vulnerability analysis that really matters, because the web applications are front end and the front facing side of the web portion. Simply running a quick vulnerability assessment with the Nikto, I have found that the host is vulnerable to cross-site tracing and a lot more misconfigurations present on the target web apps, and the outdated applications are also running that may be attacked by the attacker. So this was a quick vulnerability assessment of the web applications. You can run this to get a vulnerability details on the target web apps in no time. Apart from this, you can simply type Nikto and it will present with a help display. You can perform many attacks and many assessments going further. Now, as we have seen, this have found almost more than 20 to 30 vulnerabilities. All these vulnerabilities can be exploited using a metasploit or going through a manual or using a Bob suite or many tools to attack the vulnerabilities on the web applications. So try this tool on your system and scan the web applications to find a vulnerability, because you will have no time if you are in a penetration testing engagement with your client. So practice as much as possible before going to perform a penetration test. Welcome to the web application vulnerability scanning phase of penetration testing. In this phase, I will demonstrate the vulnerability scanning of web applications using WASP-ZAP. This tool can be used in two different modes. The first one is use this tool as an intercepting proxy similar to the Bob suite, and the second one is simply put the IP address and the URL in this box and start the attacking. In this video lesson, I am going to attack web applications using this URL box. Just simply type the URL and start the attack. In first, it will simply spider all the links that you have provided as an URL and gather all the URLs related to the target. After the spider has been completed, it will start as active scanning to find the vulnerabilities in the web applications if there is any presence. If you want, you can manually select and start active scanning in this way. Active scan has been started. Let's see how many vulnerabilities it have found for us. As you can see, there is cross-site scripting reflected, and the SQL injection on the database of MySQL has been found as a vulnerability. Critical vulnerability has been marked in red flags. This leads to the serious vulnerability and the compromise of the web applications and the web servers. So let's analyze the results and the vulnerability that has been gathered and found by using this scanning. Simply right click, open URL in browser. As you can see, there is a pop-up has been appeared as a proof of cross-site scripting vulnerability in this URL. The second vulnerability that has been found in the web application is the SQL injection, and the third one is also the SQL injection. The third step that you can use and attack the web applications is simply right click any URLs, go to attack and start fuzzing all the input parameters. In this way, it will perform the injection of scripts that you choose to attack by providing the input parameter. So in this way, I am going to attack this parameter. Simply start and add the script in this way. Suppose I am going to find the injection vulnerabilities like similar to SQL injection and all the like XML and the LDAP injection. So in this way, we can just select the SQL all the injection parameters, and it will find if there is any SQL injection or any injection vulnerabilities that has been present here. Click OK and start further. This will actively scan and find if there is any vulnerability present on that link provided by me. All the scan performed by this tool is the by default policy that the ZAP use. If you want, you can create your own policy according to your needs. Simply go to Analyze, Scan Policy, Add, type the name, change the parameters, and click OK. All the thresholds and the strength has been changed to medium and high. All the settings has been affected in all this tab. Click OK, and there is a scan policy has been created. Close. Now if you want, you can start your attack with your own policy. Simply go to the IP address, attack, active scan, select the policy, start a scan. It will attack and actively scan according to your choice and according to your needs that you have saved in the policy. In this way, we can find and gather and scan the web applications to find the vulnerabilities. This is simply a straightforward tool that we can use. This is freely available and by default is stored in the Kali Linux box. You can use this tool to find the vulnerability on the web applications. Welcome. This is the analysis video of the OWASP ZATATACK proxy findings and results that I performed earlier in this section. So let's start from the first one result that it gathers and that it have found as an vulnerability. That the first one is the cross-site scripting and the reflected attack. So let's start how this tool used and how this tool performed to find and get the results, and how this tool know that this is the vulnerability and what we can do with this vulnerability after this attack and after this scanning. How we can further extend this scanning to the exploitation. So let's start. As you can see, this is the attack field that it have performed and inserted in the input field. Like this is this normal script that we enter in the input field whenever we start to perform the finding of the cross-site scripting. So this is basically the script tag and with the alert that it have performed. As you can see, this have been inserted in the input field as an evidence, and how this has been performed with this URL, and the parameter was the ID parameter. After that it have inserted. This have performed same for all the 12 URLs that it have found. Now coming to the SQL injection and the second attack that is critical for this web applications. So basically this performed the SQL injection, and the finding was and the result was with the parameter ID, and what it attacked is 0 union all select null. We can also perform this by using this link, copy and open it in the browser. Similarly, I will enter the attack payloads according to that. You can see this is the ID is equal to 0 and the username is the admin with the email ID associated with that. So in this way, we can also perform the same attack that is the tool performed to find the SQL injection vulnerability. So what was that? Simply select. You can see this thrown an error on our screen, and this error shows and tells us that this is the SQL injection vulnerable website and this is the SQL injection vulnerable web page, that it accepts our input without any sanitization and without any input validation. So in this way it finds that there is MySQL fetch array expect. So it generally throws an error message on the screen, and by the error over the screen we can confirm that this website and this page is vulnerable to the SQL injection. You can see there is all this in the response from the website. There is a warning of MySQL fetch array expect parameter 1 to be resource. This is the error that confirms the SQL injection vulnerability is present. And all these errors apply to these three links. Similarly, we can perform all these attacks on URLs that it have found for the attack parameter, like directory browsing can also be performed, and there are a lot more options, like there is no cookie set to HTTP only flags it so that it can prevent a cross-site request forgery. And all these are the normal vulnerabilities, but still in the web application security, it is really a critical vulnerabilities that it have found for us. Well, now all these things and stuff have been saved in one place. Now there is a time to export all the results in one place to see and generate a report to hand over the client. I recommend you to just clear all your findings and just see manually one by one to gather as much as you can by performing this attack manually with the help of this description, and there is a solution to how to mitigate this risk. You can use these reference URLs to perform the same. Well, now it's time to export all these things in a single page like a PDF or HTML so that we can hand over and get all the results in single place. So simply generate a report. Go to report and create an HTML or XML report you want. Now the report has been saved. You can see this is the report. You can select with medium, high, and whatever you want. So in this way, this is convenience for you to see and what is the results was there and how to mitigate this one in one place. So in this way, this is really a convenience for your client as well to see what was the attack parameter and what was the description for that same and how to mitigate the risk and how to get a perfect solution for that. If you want, you can also recommend the solution. Welcome to the Web Application Vulnerability Scanning with this powerful tool AppSpider provided by Rapid7 organization. This tool performs vulnerability scanning of web applications using various plugins and the vulnerability database. So simply I will go through the scanning of web applications using a test site. This application and this tool is not freely available over the internet. If you have a corporate email ID, you can just request an evaluation for the 14 days. This is really a fantastic tool that I like most of the time and going through the vulnerability assessment of web applications because it finds a lot more information on vulnerabilities and reports in a really precise manner that I like it the most. Okay, so let's start and scan the test site for the web applications vulnerability. Simply type the name, put the IP address or the test site that you have, click next. These are the scan policies that you can make configure according to your needs and according to your vulnerability assessment. You can select all and modify all one by one. In this video lesson, I will simply scan with the by default configuration of this tool. That is really a best approach to scan a web application vulnerability. If you want, you can manually go through all the tabs on the left pane and check all these things and the features of this tool, what it supports and what are the features of this tool. As you can see, this supports all the vulnerabilities associated with the web applications and the server related. Okay, so save this configuration. As you can see, the area scan configuration has been created with the name grayhead. I will simply start this and run this scan to assess the web application vulnerabilities. After clicking this, it will provide all the event logs in this pane, that what it is doing at this time and what are the scan it performing at the time. This provides all the descriptions. Simply drag it here, or if you want, you can just delete one. As you can see, the scan has been started and it has found till now the 2 vulnerabilities with the risk of medium level. So performing even a single web application analysis with this tool will take a lot more time. As you can see how much data it have attacked and how much the parameter it have tested till now. So simply I will stop this and generate a report. Okay, as you can see, the report has been generated in HTML format. What the feature I like most about this tool is that it creates reports in really a realistic way and convenient way, so that anyone with a little knowledge about the web application security and development and the vulnerability management can read this report and make a decision. So simply I will analyze this report because this provides really a useful information about the target and the scanning results that it has performed. So from here you can move one by one and navigate to each one and the vulnerability keys, and from all the scan performed by this tool in simply a point and click manner. So as you can see, this is the vulnerability by risk. This provides in the graphical format, and this is the total vulnerability reports, total of 128, in which application and database related vulnerability is 124 and the server administrator related issue is 4. This also provides compliance related scans and also performs to check that if the target system and the target web applications is following the standards and the compliance like HIPAA, PCI DSS and FISMA, and also performs the testing of WASP top 10 vulnerabilities that the target may consist. As you can see, this is WASP 2013 have 29 issues. It have failed to be a stand on the WASP guidelines and the standards. Similarly, it also performs tests against the compliance like PCI to check that if it supports and follows the standards and regulations of PCI DSS. While going through these links, you can check what is the issues. Like simply, this is the FISMA, that is the Federal Information Security Management Act report. In this report, you can check what is the issues and how many issues that lacks the FISMA standards and compliance. Okay, going through the vulnerabilities. This is the vulnerability chart that have been presented and created in a similar and really a fantastic manner that can be read by anyone and with application developers. Like there is a business logic abuse with 1, and there is a content type character set in the headers of 96. And similarly, there are a lot more vulnerabilities that it have found till now, and with a simple scan to the test site, and there are a lot more information that it provides also to mitigate the risk and what was the root cause for that vulnerability, and that standards does not meet this regulations and compliance. So similarly, going through the analysis of details, you can check one by one and link by link that it have performed and presented in risk wise like low, medium and high. So going through the medium level of vulnerability, it have presented that the credentials over unencrypted channel has been passed. Means there is no any SSL or TLS certificates has been found over the target system that have been performed and scanned for the vulnerability scanning. So this is the credentials sent over HTTP, that is not HTTPS, and there is the CWE with a number that you can find more information about it. And this is also the error that it founds in the post method that it used to pass the data to the server. And this is the original traffic it have performed while testing the applications. Similarly, a lot more informations and the vulnerabilities can be tested with this tool, and you can be sure about the tool and the results that it have generated, that it is following all the standards and the vulnerability management to find and mitigate the risk. It also provides a way and the port to mitigate the risk that it have found till now, and what was the root cause of that attack in really a simple and simplistic manner. This is the remediation summary that it provides, how to remediate that. There are a lot more information about the remediation for the application developers and the server administrator that they can perform to mitigate the risk and simply secure the web applications. This tool, App Spider, is really a great and fantastic tool to perform web application vulnerability and create a simple and really convenient report. Using this tool, you can be sure that there is no vulnerability left on the web applications. Welcome to the SQL Injection Vulnerability Exploitation. In this lesson, I am going to exploit a target web applications with the help of SQL map tool. In the vulnerability assessment section of web applications, we have already seen there are a lot more vulnerabilities was found with the help of web applications scanners and the vulnerability assessment tools. So now it's time to exploit that vulnerability. So in this case, I am going to exploit the SQL injection vulnerability. So at first I will confirm that web applications, if it is really vulnerable or not. So just start browsing the web applications. In this case, the target is WASP BWA. broken web applications and the total vulnerable virtual machines. So simply I will browse and let's see if there is vulnerability found or not. Move to the OWASP bricks, content page, content 1. Well, in this page, I will try to figure out if this page is vulnerable or not. So what we see here is the ID parameter that we can play with and try to figure out with the common SQL injection vulnerability tricks like passing the single quotes, double quotes, or simply conditional matching like 1 is equal to 1. So in this case, I will simply put single quote and let's try to see if this throws any error or not. Well, this page throwing a warning. It is also revealing that the database on the target system is MySQL server. At this stage, confirm that the database behind this web application is the MySQL server. So now it's time to figure out and fire up the tool SQL Map that is really a great and perfect tool to exploit the SQL injection vulnerability. Simply copy this URL and feed up with the SQL Map. Start the SQL Map tool. You can find more help about the SQL Map and the commands associated with this tool. Simply type help and it will show all the details related to and the commands that it supports. If you want more helps in the detailed and the advanced options, put "H" and it will show you advanced options. So in this scenario, I will perform SQL injection exploitation on the target system and the URL that I just copied to find usernames, passwords, database names, information schemas, and if it is more, then I will also pound a shell. Let's start. SQL Map, URL. By default options, it will try to figure out that what is the database on the target web applications. So if you know already the target database, you can provide DBMS switch like MySQL, or if you not provide, then it will first try to figure out what is the database behind the web applications. So I will go with the default and let's see what is the result. This have detected that DBMS is MySQL database and the ID parameter might be injectable. You can follow the instructions and the start prompt. At first, simply try to figure out if the database is vulnerable to SQL injections or not. So in this case, it has found that the database on the target web applications is really vulnerable to SQL injections. So it is asking that get parameter ID is vulnerable. Do you want to keep testing the others? I will type yes. And at the last, the information that the backend DBMS is MySQL and all the operating systems related and the web applications technology like PHP, Apache versions, and the MySQL versioning has been also faced from the target database. And what the payload was generated and attacked with is this one. This is the default payload that the SQL Map tool use. Now the next step is to find the database. I will use current user and it will try to find what is the database user by default. And the current database user is with the name of bricks. This have successfully exploited and passed the database and the current database user. Now the next step is to find the columns and the tables. Simply put the switch columns and it will try to figure out how many columns are on the database. There are a lot more columns. Database is the bricks. Table users, there are a total of 8 columns like email, host, ID users, language, name, password, reference, and UA. Now the next option and the next step is to find the table names. How many tables exist with the table switch. Here you can see a lot more tables and retrieved all the details from the database. Here you can see all the tables that have been found from the database and successfully retrieved from the details. And the database name, here you can see there is Joomla, no apps, and all the details. Now the next steps that every hacker wants to get and retrieve from the database is usernames and also the passwords. So this is the steps in which I will perform to retrieve the users with the usernames and the passwords. Now simply replace the switch with the users and it will try to figure out how many users are there. Here you can see the list of users on the database on the target web applications. Now the next step, very crucial step, is to find the passwords associated with that usernames, and this tool also supports cracking that passwords because the passwords are stored in the hash format. So you need to crack with the dictionary file, change the switch with the passwords, and also place users so that it will pass users names and the passwords associated with that. Do you want to store hashes to a temporary file for eventual further processing with other tools? It is asking to store the hashes. I will simply type yes, and now it has retrieved all the usernames and the passwords associated with, and now it is asking to crack them. If you are agree, then it will perform a dictionary based password cracking with that hashes. I will start crack that hashes to get the passwords. I will type Y, that is yes. To start the dictionary file located in the word list.zip inside the SQL map folder, that is the default option, simply press the enter and it will start cracking. Here you can see there is a current status that is trying to figure out and cracking all the hashes found on the database with the usernames. So overall, this tool is really a helpful tool successfully exploiting SQL injection vulnerabilities. I strongly recommend you to use this tool SQL map and explore all the switches to get more detailed and what you can do with this tool, and also to practice your knowledge deeply. This time it have cracked passwords. Similarly, it will also crack all these passwords that was stored in hash format in the database. So this was the last steps by which we can get all the usernames and the passwords associated with them. It has successfully cracked a lot more passwords. Now if you have got the usernames and the passwords associated with, you can just directly log into the database management systems. Now we have successfully exploited the SQL injection vulnerabilities and faced all the details and the passwords and everything that is related with the SQL injection attacks. Now if you want, you can perform also the metasploit shell back to your computer system and also the shell prompt from the database management system to extend your attack further. As much you will practice using this tool SQL map, you will be more fluent at exploitation of SQL injection vulnerabilities. There are no limitations of this tool. You can perform a lot more options apart from all these commands and the tools. Thank you. Welcome. In this module, we will be talking about cross-site scripting. In short, it is XSS. Sometimes it is also abbreviated as CSS. Cross-site scripting was found between 1996 to 1998. Since then, after more than 17 years, it is in WASP top 10 vulnerability lists. So you can assume that what is the impact, how many websites will be suffering from the cross-site scripting. Almost more than 50% of websites suffers from cross-site scripting. So in this lesson, I will demonstrate the cross-site scripting power and what we can do. We generally use cross-site scripting by injecting HTML or running the code, and the most of them are JavaScript. You can choose your own code like VBS and any scripting languages, but JavaScript is more powerful and it is used widely for cross-site scripting. I will attack blog-like features on the website that will store my details, and other employee will be able to see my details. I will log in with my details. As my profile is visible everywhere, everyone can see my profile. I will edit my profile and inject some code of JavaScript to attack all the employee in my organization. I will change my address details and use some code. JavaScript stores the cookie in document.cookie object, so I will use that object, that is document.cookie, and closing of the script tag. I will save this, update my profile. Now I will log out. Now this is normal application. Okay, now let's see what will happen if my manager wants to see the details of my account, that is manager in this case. So As the manager will be able to watch anyone's profile, any person's profile, let's see what happens when a manager wants to see the profile of Eric Walker. Nothing happens. Now coming to the next, let's see the Bruce Maker. Great. When the manager wants to view the profile of another employee that is affected by cross-site scripting attack from my profile, because he have faced my profile, now this cookie is alerting over the screen. But if I will use the source tag in the HTML injection, then it can also be diverted to another website that may be hosted by me. So in this case, I will get the session ID, that is cookie in this case. It is PHP session ID as well, and I will be able to log in without ID and password of the victim user. So this was the basically demonstration of stored cross-site scripting attack. There are a lot more types of attacks we can use, like reflected and DOM-based attacks. As web application attacks are really a large lessons and modules, it is not possible to cover up all those things. So what happens when we go for the penetration testing? We need to test every input parameters that a web applications ask from the user, because every input parameter could be a possible attack types if it is not sanitized by web applications. Nowadays you will find a lot more web applications use filters to filter out all the input parameters, but you will also find that all those filters are really not matters when you have crafted your inputs and also encoded your input types. As you can see, this is the encoded one, and also in the plain text that is created by me. You can download it from GitHub. In a general term, many people ask, and there is also a myth, that what we can do with the cross-site scripting attacks. There are a lot more we can do. First one is we can steal the cookie and the session ID of the user. We can also deface the website, and if it is the successful attack, then we can compromise the full network and full web applications as well. It depends upon the expertise and the vulnerability found over the website. So it depends upon you that you can practice more and more so that you will be fluent at every attack. Thank you. Hello and welcome. In this lesson, we will be getting familiar with cross-site request forgery, that is called in short CSRF or XSRF, or sometimes CSRF. So cross-site request forgery is a vulnerability on a web applications in which a malicious user or third party performs some actions on behalf of another user. Let's take an example here. This is user already logged into Amazon.com, and hacker sends some link, that is IMG tag, and with the source link, that is Amazon.com buy, and this is the product. So this is generally a buy product link in which if the victim user will click this link, then he will buy a product from Amazon.com. But in this case, what happening is that hacker has hosted a malicious link on some third-party server, and by some means, using social engineering tricks or by any methods, hacker diverted the user to access that link. So as this user is already logged into Amazon.com, his session is authenticated. So if the user will click that link, he will buy the product for hacker, and hacker will receive the product on behalf of victim user from Amazon.com. This is called cross-site request forgery. Sometimes it is also called confused deputy attack, because in this case, deputy is Amazon.com. He is not able to figure out who is requesting the URL and buying a product. This vulnerability exists in web applications, and Amazon.com is vulnerable in this case. Okay, so now let's take a working example in which I will try to transfer a fund from third-party account by using a social engineering tricks. This is a vulnerable CSRF vulnerability exploitation example. The amount in my account is €1,000 and this is a portal in which I will transfer some amount to another third party with the account number and the amount to transfer. So this is the account and this is amount field. Now I will transfer €100. Now let's see what is happening. Okay, the amount has been transferred and €100 has been deducted from my account. But what happens? By going to testing a CSRF vulnerability or cross-site request forgery, we try to figure out and see in the URL if it is passing all the parameters in the URL or not, or with a valid token, or it is in the simple GET request. So as you can see, this is all the transfer processed in URL. Now simply I will copy this one. My account have €900. We can also perform the same actions by going through Burp Suite, because in testing we generally use Burp Suite to parse and intercept the request that is going from browsers. Okay, the URL was that is passing through. We will modify. Here you can see the account is this one. Amount that is transferred is 100 and the action is transfer. Now from here we can modify this request. I send this link to the target user that is logged in at this time, and this is the URL modified URL in which it will be €500 and the account will be of hacker. So what will happen if hacker executes this URL? As you can see, upon the €500 and when the victim user clicks that link, because that person is logged in already, so he will be performing all the actions on behalf of that account. Now let's take another example. We will just modify the account number and change the amount to 200, and as of now there is total of €300. Great, now the transfer has been successful, and on behalf of the victim user, and the victim user has processed the unwanted actions and transferred the amount to hacker's account. So this is basically a cross-site request forgery. This was the traditional methods in which all the parameters was passed in a single URL. If I transfer the amount, all the parameters are not passed in the URL. There is a token value present in the URL. This is encoded by some means. Almost all the websites use tokens as a means of security. Still, most of them are vulnerable with cross-site request forgery. Simply you just need to test with creating another user account and try to explore all the URLs. Now let's see how we can mitigate this risk. As a countermeasure, there is only one mechanism that is really a foolproof and secure. We should use a CSRF token. We can say this is anti-CSRF token that is used by most of the websites and the content management systems. You need to spend some time on cross-site request forgery and research over them to get in-depth details and practical working in which how you can exploit the vulnerabilities. So practice with anti-CSRF token enabled and try to attack. You can also go to bugcrowd.com and register for yourself and start attacking and testing the applications, real world applications. Welcome to the input parameter fuzzing or input parameter testing for the vulnerabilities or to exploit the vulnerabilities. In a penetration testing phase, you will always find yourself with a lot more work and the testing to be done in a little time, and no one is going to test all the parameters and all the input fields manually one by one. So testing all the input fields and the parameters and simply say fuzzing all the input parameters automatically with automated tools like Burp Suite will always help you and make your task easy. So in this lesson I am going to test input parameters for the vulnerability and to search exploitations. If there is possible, I will simply exploit. From my experience, whenever I go for the penetration testing, I simply take a list of payloads and integrate and load with the burp suite intruder and start automated fuzzing. I will perform all these step by step. At first, you need to have a payload list to start fuzzing all the input parameters. I have created my own cross-site scripting payloads and have uploaded it to Git repositories. You can download it simply by the commands git clone, github, XSS, custom payloads. Simply hit the command and it will download the XSS custom payload that I generated for myself, and I always use this payload while going through a testing web applications. So the payload list has been downloaded. Here you can see custom payloads. Now let's start navigating and let's find if there is the website is vulnerable or not. So this is the site that I am looking for the testing input parameters, and if there is any vulnerabilities of cross-site scripting. You can take all the payloads related to all the vulnerabilities like authentication testing, authorization testing, SQL injection, cross-site scripting, CSRF, that is cross-site request forgery, and every vulnerabilities that can be tested. So in this lesson, I am going to test cross-site scripting vulnerability with burp suite. This page is for the hostname and IP lookups. What if I want to test this page with the input parameters? As I already know that this field will always accept input from the user. So this parameter must be tested to validate the input passed to the database or to the web applications. So what I will simply do is start the burp suite. In the alert panel, you can see there is proxy service started on localhost IP with the port number 8080. Now move to the target and the proxy settings. Burp suite is basically an intercepting proxy. It will intercept all the traffic that is going through a browser. So at this time, the intercepting proxy is off. Make it on. Go to browser and configure your browser to use proxy and change your proxy settings to use localhost IP and the port number of 8080. For this, you can do either by manually or going through a Foxy Proxy standard proxy management tool. This is the add-ons in the Firefox. Now what I will do is simply move to the browser. As you can see, the proxy is running on the browser. So in this case, what I will do is look up DNS so that the intercepting proxy burp suite will capture all the traffic that is passing through this browser. After making request from the browser, move to the burp suite. Here you can see the burp suite intercepting proxy have parsed the data that was passed through the browser. Now for the testing input parameters, forward this request to the intruder, and the intruder tab will be lighten up. Move to the intruder tab. Here you can set the attack target and the positions where you want to set the payload. All these colored options are set for the payload, meaning that everything between these two symbols will be fuzzed for the input validations, or simply say our payload will be attacking at this point and this parameter. I will clear this all. Set our payload to the parameter. In this case, I will set to page. Click add to set the payload. Now everything between these two symbols will be fuzzed by our payloads. Payload will be inserted at this point. This is the attack type, that is a sniper. All these four are used for attacking different parameters. Like if you want to attack one simple parameter, I will use sniper. If you are going to test all the parameters, or if you want to set the payload to the different positions to attack all the parameters at the same time, like the PHP session ID and the input field that I used to search. If I will select other options like battery arm, pitchfork and the cluster bomb, at first it will work by input same payloads at multiple locations. So in this case, I am going to fuzz one point and the one parameter, that is page. So I will skip all this and set to a sniper. Now we'll move to payloads. Here you can see and set your all the payloads. Like if you want to run from the list, that will be simple list. If you want to brute force, then it will also perform the brute force. Here you can define the character set to make permutations and combinations, and the minimum and the maximum length to test. But I am going to fuzz the input parameter with the vulnerability cross-site scripting findings. I will select simple list and provide a list. These all are the payloads. If you want to perform rule-based attack, then you can also add here a rule how this attacking payload will be performing. Like if you want to encode your payloads, then you can also perform encoding. If you want to prefix something, then you can add prefix and suffix. If you want to match or replace, it will also match or replace. But in this case, if I want to encode the parameters, it will URL encode all the key characters. As I have already encoded my payloads, so it doesn't require. I will uncheck this box because of my payload is already encoded. There are a lot more options you can see and set depending upon that what you want and your clients. For testing and fuzzing input parameters, so I will simply start attack and it will start fuzzing all the parameters with my payload set. The burp intruder has started and the status code is 200. The fuzzing the input parameter will depend upon your computer speed and CPU speed and the network speed if you are testing in a network environment. By clicking on any one of the attack results, you can see what it have used to attack. From here you can see the page parameter that was used and the attack payload was inserted is, and what the web page responded. Here we can see the response. It have also revealed the server version. Open it with browser. Show the response. Here you can see it have successfully attacked the input parameters that have founded the cross-site scripting vulnerabilities with the attack payload on the page parameter. So similarly, going through this burp suite and attacking with a burp intruder take a lot more time in a testing phase and at the time of testing, and it also provides a lot more options like fuzzing input parameters, multiple input parameters at the same time with different features with the different attack types. I like it the most while going through the test of input parameters or testing for a specific vulnerabilities like SQL injections and authentication testing. So using this tool, burp suite, and fuzzing all the input parameters in this way can really prove to be a good way in which we can save a lot more time. I recommend you to test input validations and input testing fuzzing with the burp suite to get more hands-on details to work like a professional. Welcome. In this lesson, we will try to crack WPA2 wireless networks. WPA and WPA2 both are same in terms of cracking, as both use same authentication types, so the method is also same. Before going to crack the WPA2 networks, you need to have some basic understanding about the network's authentications, encryptions that it uses. While in normal case, you will see the wireless Wi-Fi using PSK authentication, that is pre-shared key. It is used to handshake the keys first in order to connect with the access point. And when we're going to attack enterprise, you will find that they are using WPA2 Enterprise Edition, so the authentication systems also varies. We need to check that if the target is using PSK authentication or not. I will show you in detail how we can start from monitoring mode of wireless card to capturing the data packets and then performing authentication if there is no client, and if minimum one client is connected, we can start cracking with the aircrack. So aircrack suite basically use attacking target having PSK authentication, otherwise aircrack will not be able to crack. The second option, aircrack tool use dictionary based attack. Like if you have large password dictionary file, then you can attack. Otherwise, there is also another options we can use, like using simple John the Ripper tool, that is a hash cracker and the password cracker, and simply pipe through the aircrack tool as this command is. And finally, we can also use crunch to generate a large number of password lists in order to crack and get a 100% success rate. You need to clear your basic understanding about the wireless networks, as it is not possible to cover all the terms about wireless networks. Here I am just going to test the network and crack the Wi-Fi. There are two methods in which we can crack the Wi-Fi. First one is active and second one is passive. In active mode, we try to crack the password by simply sending a deauthentication with air replay attack, and then we can simply crack it. In passive modes, you need to wait for a client until it is authenticating his or herself, so that we will be capturing the traffic and we will have enough data packets to crack the PSK. AirCrack suite works on Windows port as well in the passive mode. Okay, now let's start using cracking this from starting step 1 to 4 using AirCrack suite. So at first we will launch our AirMon tool and start in monitoring mode. As you can see, this is WLAN0 mon has been started on monitoring mode. We will be injecting the packets. We can check and kill all the unwanted processes as it is working fine. So I will finally start. You can see the WLAN0 is on monitoring mode. Now I will start arrow dump on WLAN0 mon. Okay, it is started monitoring all the access points in the range. As you can see, most of them are using PSK and one access point is using WEP. I will crack Android API, the first one. This is the access point that I am going to crack, and you can see there is a station, means that client is connected with one. You can match the basis ID that is the access point MAC address. Okay, now we will start on a specific to filter out another access points, and I will simply start on Android API with the MAC address. I will simply, you can see it is running on the channel 6, and the BSS ID I will copy, paste, and the output file where it will be saved with name, and the monitor mode. Okay, now you can see it have filtered out, and there are two stations connected with this access point. I will launch air replay commands to deauthenticate one station, one client from that access point. 0 is for the deauthentication and 5 is the packet number will be sent to deauthenticate the network. You can use 1 as well, typing BSS ID and the C for client MAC address that I am going to deauthenticate, so that it will be re-authenticating itself. You can use many tools in this section to crack this, but I prefer to use AirCrack suite. Now it will de-authenticating, and you can see the WPA handshake is captured, and now we can stop it and start AirCrack tool. This is my word list, and B is the BSS ID for the access point, and PSK asterisk.cap is the captured file. The file was misplaced, so I copied it. Okay, now I will hit enter and it will start cracking. As you can see, this has started cracking. Let's see how much time. Great, it have cracked in less than 5 seconds because the password was not strong enough. This is Aries1996. This is not a good password. Because this is not a good password, it is recommended to use special characters, uppercase, lowercase with numbers. So this was the WPA2 cracking. Going for penetration testing and testing a wireless network, then you will not be able to see WEP because it is too much insecure. So the client and the organizations do not prefer to use WEP. And finally, there are a lot more tools like Wi-Fi, one Wi-Fi cracker, and also some command line tools. As a pen tester, you must be fluent with command lines because it saves a lot more time. So by this method, you can crack and test for a wireless security and wireless networks. Thank you. Hello and welcome. Till now, you have exploited the vulnerability and got a shell prompt misinterpretation. Now what to do next? The very first step after the exploitation has been completed is to get and move around the network to find the default credentials and moving laterally without any credentials or passwords. So there will be one tool that will be beneficial at this point, that is Responder. Responder requires no more ID, passwords. It simply requires commands to start. Here you can see I have started the responder in my network on the interface, that is ETH0, and with the another options like getting hash password from the lane manager. So what it will typically try to find out is that it will just simply poison the simple vulnerability, that is WPA in Windows, that is simply a file handling vulnerability. You can find more about the WPA vulnerability over the internet by simply a Google search. And this is the NetBIOS name services, and this is the DNS. So it try to poison all these trees and get all the details related to these servers, and also perform some additional tasks as well. As you can see, I have used and I started this one, and it have tried to fetch the results. I will show you what was the result, and it is still running because it takes some time, like 5 to 10 minutes upon starting. This is the NetBIOS name services link local multicast name resolution on which the responder depends upon. Link local multicast name resolution is a service in the browser that is set to automatically. When a browser is set to automatically get configuration details, it tries to find out and get configuration files from the network. Like you can see, automatically detect settings. So this is always by default. You can't say this is the vulnerability, but upon this one, responder tries to figure out all the system details and try to get default passwords, and if there is any misconfigurations present on the system. So this is the link local multicast name resolution on which this responder depends upon. So now let's see what it have collected for me. Here you can see what it is trying to do at this time. At first, it tried and successfully get the system details like Windows 7 that is running on host system. It asks you to provide a interface on which it will be running. So I have provided my interface on a single laptop, and it have collected all the 3 networks that is running, one Windows 7, Windows XP, and one is Linux. Till now you can see this have also extracted the NTLM v2 version 2 hashes from the Windows 7 machines and with the usernames. And this is the IP address of interface, that is gateway IP. It have poisoned LLM on the PC, that is the same PC that it have poisoned, and found the hashes, that is the password for that system, that is host system Windows 7 Ultimate. And the second one is Windows XP, that is Windows 5.1, and LAN Manager as a client version. It have tried to do many things and performed well. When you will run this responder in a network environment, like if it is running in the Ethernet and running hundreds and thousands of computers, then it will try to figure out and poison every computer, because it poison the interface, that is gateway, and every traffic passing through the gateway IP will be captured by this one. And it will also provide simply a password. As we have seen, it have successfully get a hashed password from that local machine. Now we can just crack with the John the Ripper and log in on the domain controller with the admin password and the admin privilege. So this is the best way on which we can relay and perform after the exploitation has been completed, because after the exploitation you have nothing like a passwords or something else. If you have, you are the lucky one, and it is good to go for the post exploitation. Use at least 5 to 10 computers if you can, otherwise 2 to 3 is more, and then try to see what is the results it provide for you, how it is beneficial for you. Simply typing responder, and with the help will provide you with the help results how you can run. Like if it says likely break stuff on the network and that is default false, so do not try to use this one, because it will really break on that computer. If you are running Windows XP or anything on the virtual machine, then it's okay. Otherwise, if you are running real one like I am using at this time, Windows 7, it is not safe to use like these commands. So use it and practice it. Thank you. Hello and welcome. As we have already explored the target system and got a meterpreter session in the earlier module and the lesson, now it's time to add a user on the target system and the target machine with the help of shell prompt from the meterpreter session. I will get a command prompt of the Windows machine typing shell. This is the command prompt of exploited Windows machine that is running Windows XP. Now I will enumerate for the users. How many users are there? So there are a total of 4 users. I will add another user with my password by the command net user, and the account will be Joey with the password pass123. Well, command succeeded and we have received a message that is command completed successfully, as this is the version of Portuguese Windows machine. I will see by typing net users to see the user has been added or not. As we can see, user with the name Joey has been added to the Windows machine. Move to the Windows machine that is running and see if there is user or not. So here you can see the user has been added, Joey. If the target system and the exploited system is a part of domain controller and the member of a domain controller, then we can also add newly created account to the domain member so that we can access a lot more details from the target system. So by this way we can add a user on the target system, and also we can escalate the privilege by this way. Simply you need to type some Windows command from the command prompt and you are all set to run. By adding the user account on the target system will be helpful in connecting and enumerating SMB servers and also the logged on users on the target system and the network and the domain controller as well. So play with the commands from the command prompt and add the user accounts and log in from that account. Thank you. Hello and welcome. Till now we have exploited the system and got a meterpreter session. Now we can do everything on the target system as a privileged user and an administrator user. But what if the target system shuts down the computer or simply log out from that session and the user leaves that computer? In that case, you will not be able to connect again with that system. Many things can happen. Suppose you have exploited the target system and meanwhile the target system has applied the patch for the exploit so that you won't be able to exploit the target again and get a meterpreter session and shell prompt. At that case, what we can do is just make a persistent backdoor on that system in order to get a connection back to our meterpreter session and metasploit automatically. I will do a step by step. This is the meterpreter session as we have got in the earlier in exploitation sections. So now it's time to make a persistent backdoor. It is easy to make with the meterpreter and simply put on the target system to connect back to our metasploit console and get a meterpreter sessions again and again. So metasploit and meterpreter also offers a persistent backdoor. You do not have to do anything more. Simply type some command like run persistence with the options. So I will use my one that I generally use, that is run persistence with the switch U. In this way it will automatically connect to my exploit handler and my metasploit console whenever a user logs on to that computer. Hit the enter and make a persistent backdoor. There are another method too by which you can make a persistent backdoor like Nishang, Power Exploit. This app installed a backdoor on the target system and this is the file name. In Visual Basic the code has been written and it have also installed auto run so that whenever a user logs in it will be automatically running and connecting back to our meterpreter session. As we have created the backdoor, now I have just moved out from the meterpreter session. Now let's log out this user. Now I will run the metasploit handler so that whenever a user will log in, it will give us a metasploit session. That is the RC script that I have made and I use always. Now I will log in to the victim machine. Now let's see our metasploit session. Great, it have got a metasploit session again. Every time a user will log in, we will get a metasploit session. So practice and use all the features of metasploit persistent backdoor so that you will get more about this super cool features. Thank you. Hello and welcome. In this video lesson, we will be getting familiar with the metasploit features, that is resource file. Resource file is simply a series of commands that we use in metasploit console. Like this is the exploit, this is the payload, localhost IP address and the port number. So this is all about the putting all the commands together in a series, so that if we will provide this resource file with the metasploit and the MSF console in the shell prompt, then it will parse all these commands and run it automatically. So in a penetration test, it will save a lot more time by not typing all this command again and again, because obviously if you are going to test hundreds of computers, then it will obviously require the same command to be typed again and again. So this is the best feature in a metasploit that we use. I will simply use another feature, that is Msfvenom, that creates payload and also encrypt with the encoders. So I will simply use MSF payload creator, that is msfpc. Type the msfpc and it will provide you with the help file. It is basically a Msfvenom that creates and generates payloads with more featured options. This is the type of files that we can save, like PE format, that is portable executable on Windows. This is the ELF format that is on the Linux, PowerShell, PHP, Perl and Python as well. I will use the first one, that is the Windows metasploit reverse metasploit session. Okay, so let's start, and I will create a web server as well with Python. So at first I will type msfpc Windows. It will automatically generate metasploit with the Windows option and my localhost IP. Simply hit enter and it will show the description, and here you can see this is the payload it is using at this time, and the format is executable so that we can run on Windows platform with the 32-bit architecture. Now here you can see there are two files has been generated. The first one is RC, that is resource file, and the second one is executable. This is the payload that we need to deliver on the target system in order to get a metasploit session. So what I will do simply is I will deliver this executable on the target system that is running on Windows platform, that is Windows XP, and this is the resource file. I will show you what is inside this resource file. Let's type and see at first what is inside that file. The similar to what I created for me. Here you can see this is all a set of commands that we run on MSF console. All these are optional because this is the command to tell you what is this and what does it mean. Instead of using this resource file, I will use my own, and it will also work the same way. Now I will save this resource file created by me with the name of handler.rc. Now I will use this executable to deliver on the target system. Then I will run a handler, that is resource file that I created. So at first we should start a server in order to get access from the same network. For that we need to use Python, simple server on the port number 8080. The server is started on the local host and with the port number 8080. This is simple Python server. Now I will move to the XP machine and access this server in order to get execute. Now as you can see, there are files listed on the target system is accessible with the IP address and the port number, and this is the executable. Now I will use resource file and run from my Kali Linux box with the MSF console R for resource file. Simply move this file or type the command, hit enter. It will start metasploit, put all the commands together from the resource file, and it will be started listening, so that the payload that is going to be executed from the Windows XP machine will be connecting back to the metasploit framework for a metasploiter session. Okay, now the payload handler is started. I will simply access this executable from Windows XP machine. Now let's move to our Kali Linux box to see the metasploiter session. Great. Now you can see the metasploiter session has been opened here. And this was the demonstration of two features of Metasploit. The first one is the resource file, and the second one is a Msfvenom payload creator. And the both are simply awesome. It saves a lot more time in penetration testing. Personally, I have created resource file with many commands that I use generally again and again for the penetration testing because of the time limit in the testing and engagement. And this is the simple payload creator. It also supports encoders from the Metasploit. Thank you. Hello and welcome. This is the post-exploitation lesson in which I will try to get a cache item and the hash password from the exploited machine. So basically this is based on the Windows features that stores last 10 passwords of last 10 users to speed up the login process. If there are 10 computers in a domain and if the computers are not connected with the internet that was part of a domain, then it will still be able to log in because Windows stores the passwords in a cache memory. So there is a post-exploitation module in Metasploit that is cache item. Simply search for the cache item and module is this one. I will use this with a metasploiter session that is already running and has been exploited. As this is not a part of a domain, it will not get a cache item. I will show you how it can be processed. So simply use post, Windows, gather and the cache item. Show options, and there are sessions that it requires. As this is already set, by typing set session and type exploit. It will try to gather passwords from the computers that it have stored in a cache memory. And the password is in the hash form, so we can quickly fire up the John the Ripper or hashcat tool to crack that password in plain text. So try this and use while the computers are a member of a domain. As I have seen a lot more time in penetration testing because computers in a company are always a part of a domain. So they can store, and obviously they store last 10 passwords of the user accounts. So thank you and all the best. Hello and welcome. Port scanning is a crucial phase that we perform to get how many services and how many ports are open. But what you will do if the port numbers in the services running on the target system is blocking all your probes, and it will not let you scan because all the requests going through your Kali Linux box will be filtered out, either the firewalls or the IDS or any security devices that will simply filter out your traffic going inside them. I have come across many situations like this in penetration testing and scanning the network. At this time, NMAP comes in handy because NMAP have all the features and the facility to bypass the security mechanisms, firewalls that is really blocking our probes and not letting go inside our traffic to their computer system and their networks. So in this lesson, I will simply scan the target and let's see if it is filtering out, then how I will bypass it. with the NMAP tool, because NMAP have this capability to bypass all the firewalls, security rules, and the security devices. So at first, let's get details about the targets and the Kali Linux box. So this is my window system. At first, we can see there are firewall rules, and the firewall is running at this time. You can see the firewall state is on. Now come to the see the IP address, so that I will be making a port scan to see how many services and ports are open and running services. This is the Wi-Fi that is connected with wireless networks, and this is the IP address that I'm going to use for the scanning purpose. I will use every techniques that will be bypass the security mechanisms and the firewalls, because you don't know exact rules of the target system, that how it is blocking our probes. Then you must try all the switches and all the trial and error techniques to evade the firewall and scan the networks and the port scanning. So let's start with the NMAP Firewall Evasion. Typing the NMAP will reveal all the help file. So this is the firewall and IDS evasion and the spoofing sections, in which all these options and we can use to bypass the firewall rules. But sometimes I have also found useful scanning techniques like XMS scan and null scan as well, because all these scan techniques makes connection and then scan the target system like half open scan, window scan, and sending the null bytes, meaning that there will no any data pass to the target system. So what will react, because every system reacts to it in different manners. So I will simply start scanning with all the possible switches in the NMAP tool to bypass the security mechanism of the target systems. But by default, NMAP use scene scan, that is half of an scan. It makes half connection with the target system. If you want, you can provide the switches, that is scan and the capital S, that is the scene scan. So I will use the scene scan technique for at first and provide the IP address of the video machine that I am running at this time, that is the host machine. Basically the IP address is. Now hitting the enter will scan the target. You can see there is one filtered port, that is the shell running on the Windows 7 target system with the port number 514, and the protocol is TCP. So using the various techniques and various switches will also not let it go inside their network and traffic, and it will filter out, because this is really a secure applications that is running. This is the reason why the firewall is filtering out this traffic and not letting it scan. Now let's try the TCP connect scan. I'm sure this will also not bypass the security mechanism, and this probably will also be filtered out, because this makes connection directly with the target systems, so it will be definitely filtered out. As you can see, scanning target with the TCP connect scan, the target system, that is Windows 7 in this case, have filtered out 5 ports that is running, and that was bypassed with the scene scan techniques. So this is the logic why I use all the switches and try every switches to bypass the security mechanisms. This is based on only the simple trial and error techniques. Now I will use next options that might be bypassed. ACK scan sends ACK packets directly to the target host, and sending a acknowledgement packet without any connection doesn't make sense. So that is the reason it also may bypass the security mechanisms. But this time, as you can see, these have not scanned and any results is not there. I will try next option, that is XMS scan. Now here you can see the scan has been completed, and all the ports it have scanned are open, but it have been filtered out by the firewall rules. So in this case I will use another options to bypass the security mechanisms. At this time I will use only scene scan, and with providing fragmentation attacks. In this case it will send a packet that will be fragmented in several chunks. Maybe the firewall will not be able to understand what the traffic is meant to be, and it will let it be too fast. So this is the fragmentation attack. By default it makes chunks of all the data in a multiple of 8 bytes. Now with the combination of scene scan and the fragmented attack, it have completed the scan with more precise results. In this case, it have filtered out only one port, that is 514. So now from this point I will focus on this port, specific port number, that is 514, and the protocol is TCP. So I will scan only that port with the port specification, that is 514. Now I will use another options. There is options of, you can, if you want to use fragmentation attacks, then you can increase the F switch multiple times. But there is another options that is called MTU, that is maximum transmission unit. It also does the same work like sending all the data in several chunks in a multiple of 8 bytes of data. But using MTU is a good way than fragmentation attack. It also performs the same attack type, but here you can define how many chunks of data you want to cut. So now here I will define 64 byte of data to send. It will cut all the data in 64 bytes of multiple. So let's see what is the result after scanning with this MTU. With these options, it have also filtered out. Now I will use another options, that is null scan. This have partially connected with the target that is open, but it have filtered out. So now I will try another options, that is MAM-on-scan. In this case, it have completely replied to the scan, that is port is closed. The next option I will use is window scan. Window scan is also a perfect scan that scan the target systems with the window size. Great. Now you can see the window scan have bypassed the firewall and the security mechanisms on the target system on the Windows systems. The same port, that is 514, with the protocol TCP, it is now in the open state, because the scanning with the window scan technique have successfully exploited the firewall rules and perform a firewall evasion. Because we don't know the rules on the firewall set on the target system, so we need to try every possible techniques to bypass the security mechanisms. It applies to all the security mechanisms you are going to bypass, like web application firewalls and IDS, IPS as well. So by using these methods, now sure that I will scan with this technique, that is window scan, and it will be bypassed by our scanning technique. NMAP has another options to bypass all the security mechanisms like firewall evasions and antivirus evasion as well. You can spoof your own source port number and the source IP address as well. This is the IP address spoofing. Simply specify the S switch and the IP address. Now this is the firewall log evasion techniques. In this way, the target system will be able to notice that someone is scanning, but it will not determine which IP address is scanning, because you will scan with a lot more IP addresses in which your IP address will be 1, so the target system will not be able to determine. You can also specify the interface with another options like the TTL value, and you can also spoof the MAC address of your computer system to perform a spoofing attacks. If you want to send the bogus packets to the target system, then you can also send with the bad sum commands. So basically these are the firewalls and the IDS evasion spoofing techniques we use to evade the firewalls. Now by default, NMAP has also a scripting engine that it performs scanning the vulnerabilities on the target systems. You can perform scanning with a scripting engine, that is script the default option. By using this method, you can scan the target system for the vulnerabilities, non-vulnerabilities if there is any. You can see this is the scanned results of my own system, that is Kali Linux, running PostgreSQL, that is open state, and the SSL certificate is with the common name Kali. Because the Kali is by default secure, so there is no chances that it will find a vulnerability. But by this method, you can scan the target systems with the default scanning and the scripting engine of the NMAP vulnerability database. Apart from all these, evading the firewalls, antivirus, and scanning for the vulnerabilities, there are a lot more useful commands and the useful uses of that I generally find in a penetration test and the scanning phase so useful. You can check all these commands to scan your own system and see the result in a penetration test to scan a large network with a little bit effort and with a powerful scripting engine. Thank you. Hello and welcome. Penetration testing with metasploit and exploiting the target is easy, but the real game starts in the post-exploitations. That how the target system or the host is behaving with the metasploit traffic and the tools itself. There are a lot more instances like antivirus, content inspection firewalls, rule-based firewalls, packet filtering firewalls. Every security mechanism will try to stop all your traffic going back from the target host to the metasploit computer. For instance, this computer is a metasploit running system, and this is the server that is vulnerable in this case, and we have exploited with our exploits in a metasploit framework. In many cases, you will find yourself that you will not get meterpreter shell or any payload will not be executed back to your metasploit framework. The reason is simple. The chances are the target system is running content-based firewall inspection rules set. Rules will not allow your traffic to go at any port that is set by metasploit framework. As you have already seen that metasploit always set by default ports, like using a meterpreter set to the by default port number 4x4. So if the target system is not getting the traffic out to any port except port 80, so at that case the reverse shell or reverse meterpreter shell will not be opened and the exploitation will be succeeded. So there is an option in the metasploit that we can use, because there are one options that firewall and every security devices must enable and must allow the port number 80 that is web based, and it is always allowed to go out from the source. Search for payload TCP all ports. TCP all ports is a payload in the metasploit framework. What happens in this is that it tries to connect back to the metasploit framework using all the possible ports from 0 to 65,535. So if one port is not allowing from the target host to metasploit framework, it will try another port number. So at that case, the chances are 99% of success rate for the reverse shell and the meterpreter session. So in this way we can bypass the limitations and also bypass the firewall rules and the content inspection devices that are running on the target systems. You will find this situation many times in a penetration test, because almost every servers and the HTTP servers and web applications have the firewalls that blocks all the outgoing traffics except port 80. So this is the way we can bypass the firewalls and the rules in a post-exploitations. I recommend you to use these payloads and try to block in your computer system that your computer will not allow any port except port number 80, and use a normal payload that a meterpreter reverse TCP and then see the result. If there is no meterpreter session, then try for this one all ports. That will surely bypass the firewall's rules. Thank you. Hello and welcome. This is the Firewall Evasion framework lesson, in which we will be getting familiar with Firewall Evasion. That is an antivirus bypass. It can create a payload that will not be easily caught by antivirus and security softwares. So at first we will see how many payloads it can generate. As of now it have 51 payloads, and this is the updated one. Here we can generate and also encrypt all the payloads so that antivirus will not be able to understand the code, and it will not be able to decide with what kind of code it and what the action it will perform. Here you can see this is the Python one, and with the meterpreter reverse shell coding. Okay, let me generate one and let's see if antivirus catch it or not, or online scanner declare it a virus or Trojan or malicious something. So I will start with the PowerShell. We will create a PowerShell reverse TCP, and this one payload that is 24. Here are the options, that is lhost and lport. And the lport is by default of meterpreter reverse shell. I will go for options. There is nothing more. I will simply generate it. I will name it PowerShell, and it has generated the PowerShell interpreter in the batch file programming. This is the extension .bat, and there is a RC script resource file handler. Okay, let's move to that folder. Now I will just simply copy it to desktop. Okay, now we have got it. This is the batch file. Here we can see PowerShell programming and the commands on the Windows machine. Now let's upload it to VirusTotal and see if it can declare it a virus or not. So this is the file. Well, the ratio is really good one, but still some of the best antivirus will not be able to catch it and declare it as a virus. You can see it is clear. Out of 54 scanners, there are only 20 scanners declares that it is virus, Trojan, or something like malicious or malware. Now let's see which one is not declaring the malicious. Here is the K7 antivirus, Kingsoft, Malwarebytes. Even McAfee is not able to declare it a virus. Microsoft Funda, and also from the Trend Micro and the Symantec. So the using wheel evasion is really a powerful, and you can understand, you can see how it is powerful. Now if there is antivirus running on the target system, still our payload will be able to execute it and we will get a metasploit reverse shell. So this is the power of wheel evasion. That is really a powerful tool to generate a powerful payload. So be updated with wheel evasion and generate your payload to be undetectable. Now in a penetration testing, what we will do is put this payload generated by wheel evasion on the startup folder in the running process, so that whenever a system will boot, it will run automatically and we will get a reverse shell. Practice as much as possible. Thank you.
Hello and welcome. Testing for password security and password strength assessment for passwords that is weak in nature. Probably most of the users in an organization always try to keep simple password that can be memorized easily. So testing for the password will be easy if you have the KON BOOT. I personally use KON BOOT, that is free for the home users, and if you want you can get a licensed, and testing with the KON BOOT licensed version is with the best features. Like for the personal license, it is taking $15, and if you are going to penetration testing in a client engagement and performing a penetration test on the client side, then it is better to have a commercial license for Windows with the $75. So KON BOOT have also a Mac port you can use to bypass Mac passwords that is weak. So get the features of KON BOOT because it is really a good one to crack the login passwords and bypass the security. To test the security of passwords and the weaknesses, KON BOOT is with online account authorization bypass. Head towards KON BOOT website and get to know all the features that it supports. I mean to say, for testing the security of passwords strength with KON BOOT is really a good one for Windows and Mac as well. I recommend you to use a free one on your own system. Then after you can go for licensed version. Thank you.
Hello and welcome. Passwords are primary method of authentication nowadays. From using email accounts to log in a web applications, we use passwords everywhere. Taking this a bit further, the motto behind any attack and any exploitation is to getting a authentication or simply getting a passwords. So in this lesson, I will use a tool John the Ripper and shadow the hashes from the etc passwd and etc shadow folders. because these two folders keeps usernames and the passwords in Unix-based computer systems. So cracking the Linux passwords differs from Windows passwords cracking. I will unshadow the password files, then I will provide unshadow password files to the John the Ripper, that is the password cracker, and the hash cracker with a default word list file. You can see usr share John and password.lst. This is the password files and the John the Ripper used to crack the passwords with dictionary based. To unshadow the password files with the unshadow command, and the shadow file, I will redirect to a new file that will keep usernames and the password files from these two directories. So in this case it will be crack this. Now the etc passwd and the shadow file unshadowed to crack this name. Now I will simply provide John with this unshadowed hash file to crack the passwords and the hashes. Let's see what is in the crack this file. You can see there are a total of user IDs and the passwords in the hash format. This is the by default ID in the Kali Linux and the password that is in the hashed format. Now I will just start cracking and let's see how much time it will take. Just type John and provide the file to crack. By default it uses the password files in the John folder. It takes time upon the strength of the password, because people keep passwords so that they can memorize it easily, like date of birth name, girlfriend's name, and the favorite shows. Now the John the Ripper has completed cracking the hash file and the passwords. I will type simply command show so that it will be showing all the passwords. There are a total of 3 accounts that have cracked. That is user account. This is the first account that is by default in the Kali Linux having the password 1. The second account is greyhead and the password is dragon, and the third account is math having the password money. So in this case it have cracked all these 3 passwords. That is really a weak passwords so that it can be memorized easily. This is the reason why we should keep the password and choose the password that is strong. Password that have the date of birth, your mobile number, your card number, all these passwords are really weak passwords. So this is the recommendation not to keep these passwords for your account. Either it is for the email account or it is for the web-based account, or anywhere you use a password to protect your accounts or the computers, because this such type of passwords can be easily cracked with a little effort. Hello and welcome. Generating a password lists and cracking the passwords makes easy when you have a large number of word lists. There is another interesting tool that requires a lot more space in your hard drive. That is Crunch. Crunch can take thousands of GB of storage on your computer system depending upon the number of words you want to generate. Let me tell you the example. That is how to generate the passwords. Type command. Specify the minimum length. So in this case I am going to use 8-digit password, that would be minimum, and the maximum would be also 8. Now you can specify digits, characters. I will take all the characters from the alphabets like A, B, C, D to Z, and the number from 1 to 0. So now this is all the passwords that people can take for their account and the computer systems. And now I will redirect output file to crunchpass.txt format, and it will similarly use all the combinations from these letters and numbers to make a passwords. It will create possible combinations. That is the reason why it takes a lot more space on the computer system. Simply hitting the enter will show how many space it will take. You can see there are a total of 23,646 GB, almost 23 TB. So I will cancel it because of no space. you can see there are a total of lines it will generate in a password list. So that is the reason why it takes how many combinations will be there, you can see. So this makes easier to crack the password. Like if you know there is a password of 5 digit or 6 digit, then you can generate a 5 digit or 6 digit passwords and it will not take a lot more space the most of the time. And I use this tool to crack the passwords depending upon the situations, and if you know how many digits of passwords and letters of passwords, so you can use this tool and generate a large number of passwords to crack the password files or the password hashes. Hello and welcome. Password cracking becomes easy when you have a large number of dictionary files having the words related to the victim or the target organizations. If you are going to perform a penetration test and testing a weak passwords for their employees and the user accounts, then you must have a dictionary-based password list associated with that target organizations. There are a lot more tools that can be used to generate a passwords based on their websites and all the links with a presence to online. So in this lesson, I will generate a dictionary-based file, collect all the wordings from their website and store in a password list file in a text format. So that going to attack password cracking, it will be very helpful because people always keep passwords that can be memorized easily. So I will simply start a password generator, that is basically a word list generator from the website of the target organizations, that is KON. I will simply provide the right options and the passwords list.txt. Minimum length that can be collected from their website is minimum 5 digits, and there is no limit of unlimited. After the 5 digit, it will be collecting all the wordings from their websites. If you want to go deeply, because testing for a large organizations will always have a large number of web pages, so it will take a lot more time. So you can say depth by the using switch D and providing the depth number. By default, this tool use depth number 3. So in this case, I will also use 3 and leave it default. Type the target URL I am going to attack and hit enter, and it will start collecting all the wordings with a minimum length of 5, and it will store all the wordings in a password file that I have defined. Well, it have completed collecting all the words in a text formats. Now let's see how many words are there. Here you can see it has generated almost a large number of words. You can say this is the passwords because related to the target organizations, all the wordings will maybe used for the password. There are chances that any employee or any people or administrator of that organizations have kept the password related to the organizations itself. So using this kind of tool will always help you to generate a password and start cracking the passwords. Hello and welcome. In this video lesson, I am going to use a query tool for the finding publicly available exploits through a tool that is search exploit. This tool is built in Kali Linux box. To use this tool, you can simply type search exploit on the shell prompt, and it will give you all the details how to use it and what is this tool made for. This tool is very helpful in finding the exploits. Suppose you are going to penetration test and you perform the vulnerability scanning and you see there is Apache version that is running earlier vulnerable versions of Apache's web server. Then you can just simply type and query in the search exploit. It will find the publicly available exploits for the same. So using this tool is simple. Simply type search exploit and hit enter. It will provide you with lots of options to use, but using this tool is much simpler than this. Simply type search exploit and type the name of the vulnerability or the exploits that you want to fetch from the database. So in this case, I will just type Apache. So performing query for the Apache module provided a lot more vulnerability in the scripts in the text file and with all the Python scripts as well. So performing a simple query with the help of this tool search exploit, you will find a lot more publicly available exploits to attack the target. All these paths have been misconfigured. This path is not located at the exact exploit. All the exploits are located under USR share exploit DB. And in the platforms directory, you can see there are a lot more exploits that has been categorized in with the attack type and the platform basis. So simply, if you want to search for the exploit for the Android operating system, so simply go for on the Android directory and in this category, and you will find a lot more options. Like it is, if you want to search for the exploit like a DOS attack or for the local attack, and if you want to get the exploit for the remote session or remote attacking, and there are shellcodes and the web applications as well. So let's check for the remote. Going for the remote exploit for the Android operating system, you will find a lot more exploits in the HTML format and the Python and the text format. So simply I will use one of them, and let's see what is in the text file. As you can see, opening this one file is telling that Google Chrome for the Android is prone to multiple vulnerabilities. Attackers may exploit these issues to execute arbitrary code in the context of the browser. So similarly, this code can be compiled and sent to the remote mobile phone, and this code will run in the Android phone and in the browser of Google Chrome, so it will perform the exploit and compromise that Android operating system. Similarly, going to use, you can perform all this and find all the details related to the exploits, and you can execute on your own machine and then send. If it is for the DOS attack, you can perform the DOS attack from your own machine, or if it is the remote exploits, then you can perform remote exploitation on the target. But similarly, going through the searching exploit is using search exploit is simple. Type the search exploit and the exploit code and the exploit name you want to perform. Like suppose if I want to find the exploit for the Windows platform, I will simply type search exploit Windows, and it will provide lots more results that is matched with the Windows platform attacks and the exploit codes. So before using these scripts and the exploit codes, it is highly recommended that test this code on your own machine before going to exploit on the target system in a penetration test. And finally, there are a lot more options it provides to search the exploit and categorize all the results and the exploits. So using this tool is as simple as that. You can find the exploits, compile on your own machine, and perform the exploitation. Hello and welcome. In this video lesson, I will perform a quick search over the internet to find the exploit code for the vulnerabilities and the related issues. As you have seen in the previous lesson, that search exploit a query tool in the Kali Linux does a great job in finding the exploit code that has been publicly announced. Similar to the search, there is another web-based and the website that also performs the same task and provides you with a lots of exploit codes related with multiple vulnerabilities. That is called bug track. Following the website, that is securityfocus.com, you will find a lot more vulnerabilities. Simply open the website, search all vulnerabilities. The more interesting part of this website and the bug track is that you can find exploit code by either the CVE or by the vendor name. Here I will perform a quick search for the exploit code on the PHP bulletin board, that is PHP WPA application. So simply select the vendor, select the title. In this case, I am selecting add name. So finally, it have found one vulnerability with the add name vulnerability that adds a user without any authorization and any authentication on the PHP WPA application, that is web-based application to manage bulletin boards. Simply go to this vulnerability, that is remote file inclusion vulnerability. This vulnerability was published in 2006. Go to the exploit code. You can find this is the exploit code that has been written in the Perl script. By using this Perl script, you can perform a exploitation and compromise the entire PHP WPA application and all the web-based applications associated with that. So this is a simple task that we can perform and find the vulnerabilities and exploit codes associated with them with a lot more. And the bug track database is really a huge database that is publicly available. Exploits have been published already, and they publish exploits day by day. So using securityfocus.com, you can find your exploit to exploit the target and lead to compromise of entire network or entire host according to the exploitation and the vulnerabilities. Hello and welcome. In this video lesson, you are going to be familiar with another vulnerability database that you can find your exploit codes to perform exploitation on the target system in order to get hands-on details about the vulnerability and what the vulnerability says. That database is exploit database, that is exploitdb, from the house of Kali Linux makers. Let me open this website. Just simply type exploit-db.com and this will provide, you can see there are a total of exploits code available for the vulnerable databases, applications, Android operating systems, and all the stuffs and all the vulnerabilities that has been publicly announced till date. So using this website and finding exploit code for yourself is simple and straightforward. Just move through the headings and in the categorized manner. If you want to find the exploit code for the remote exploits and the vulnerabilities, you can search and see in the remote exploit categories. Similarly, web application exploits are also listed. Well, there is another options, like if you want to search for a specific vulnerability. Suppose if you want to search the vulnerability and exploit code for the vulnerability that was discovered in the Windows XP operating system. So I will simply type up the CVE code, that is Common Vulnerability and Exposure Code. Simply perform the captcha decoding. Search. As you can see, there are a total of 7 vulnerability related with that exploit code, and that is Common Vulnerability and Exposure Code has been presented on the screen, and all those are related from the Windows platforms. That all the exploits are from the Windows. That one is code execution. Okay, let's see what is behind this exploit and code, what the details it will provide for me. So you can download this code from this GitHub repository and perform the exploitation. All these codes are ready-made. Simply you have to download the code and perform some compilation on your computer. Like if it is in the Python code, then you just need to run the Python language in your computer and follow the commands of the Python and all the scripting. Okay, let's see another exploit code to see what is the behind this code in the file. Okay, this is the net API command and the vulnerability that was found in the Windows XP. You can find every details here, that what is the vulnerability and how you can exploit these, in which way you can exploit these. So this website, exploitdb, is really a great stuff and a great place to spend your some time here and research on the code and learn from the code and exploits. If you want to perform exploitation, and if you want to learn exploit writing, how to code and how to write the exploit codes, like shell code is also there. You can perform shell coding as well here. You can find related information about all these stuffs related to the exploitation and the exploit writing. But this website and the database is generally for the exploits code that you can find here for the publicly announced vulnerability to exploit that. So my recommendation is that you just spend the time in order to research about the exploitation and the exploit code. Thank you. Welcome. This is the anonymity module. In this module, I will be demonstrating the Tor browser. And with the help of that browser, I will be just discussing how to be fully anonymous and surf the internet and use internet and still be your IP address and your identity will not be exposed to the destination host. So this is going through the Tor browser. So first of all, you need to download this Tor browser from the open project, that is the torproject.org, and this is the browser and this is the URL you can see here. From here you can download the Tor browser from this website according to your system architecture, 32-bit and 64-bit of version, and with operating systems like Microsoft Windows, Mac OS and the Linux OS as well. So in this case, I have just downloaded my Windows version of the Tor browser and I have installed into my system. So let's start this browser and let's see how to be fully anonymous and configure our Tor browser to completely be anonymous from the destination host that we're going to connect with them. So to start with, you will be just seeing that there is another desktop icon that is saying a start Tor browser has been created upon installation. So upon installation and the first running it, you will be prompted with a window that will be saying that you want to configure this according to your needs, or if you go through the default configuration of the Tor browser. So because the Tor browser is highly secured and encrypted browser in order to connection and browsing the internet, so I recommend you to go through the by default connections and by default configuration of the Tor browser. So for that you need to just click simply connect, and it will be making connections with the Tor circuits and the Tor node release that it has been developed by the Tor project. Okay, as you can see here, the window has been opened here, and to check that the browser has been completely anonymous or not, you need to just test the Tor network settings, and it will say you and congratulate you that this browser is configured to use Tor, and the IP address of the proxifying nodes that the Tor use. So the very basic things of this browser is that you need, upon the execution and whenever you have just opened this browser, you need to just keep this window size as it is, because let me show you. Whenever I maximize this, you can see maximizing the Tor browser can allow websites to determine your monitor size, which can be used to track you and your computer details, your IP address details, and many things that is there to track the computer systems and the IP addresses apart from these things. So it is better to use the window size as default in this size as it opens up. Okay, so this browser is highly secured. Still there is many configurations you have to make, and your many habits you have to change in your internet activity that you use earlier to be fully 100% anonymous. So just simply click stay anonymous, and it will guide you through how to be fully anonymous by the lessons. Here you can see there is lessons ABCD, and the first one is to how to use your internet traffics and how the internet traffics will be going through and passing through the target destination and the host destination you are going to connect. And the second one is the interesting things, so that many people have the habits to download the applications and the files through the torrent applications, because this exposes the real identity of the source host, meaning that if you are just using torrent file and torrent file sharing applications and downloading some files from like a PDF and the applications and the executable files and anything that can be downloaded, then this will just make communications directly to the torrent sites and the host destination host. So in this case, your real identity and real IP address will be exposed to that destination host. So it is not recommended to use the torrent applications with this browser. Okay, the next one is to don't enable or install browser plugins, meaning that to run flash players and the flash media and the real player media and the QuickTime videos, you need to just install some plugins in order to get feature-rich videos playing on your browser. But in this case, as this browser has been made for the fully anonymous internet activities to be browsing, so this is not recommended, and to use these such kind of plugins in your, and never attach such kind of plugins and download from this browser to be fully anonymous. Next one thing is to use only HTTPS sites that supports HTTPS. Here you can see the HTTPS sites, and you can identify what is the HTTPS sites. As this Tor project.org website use SSL certificates that is highly secure in nature. So it is recommended to use any sites that supports SSL, means HTTPS. If you see HTTPS, then you can use it and ensure that you are fully anonymous from that website. Okay, the next one thing is that don't open documents downloaded through Tor while online. Okay, maybe you have downloaded some files with the help of this Tor browser. But to be fully anonymous, you are recommended not to open that document while the download has been completed, because it will just make connections directly to the destination host. So this is highly recommended that not to open the file while using the Tor browser. And the last one is to use the Tor breezes and Tor relay nodes. I will discuss about it later in this module. So let's go to another sections. Okay, so let's see how the Tor has been developed and how the encryption is going through and passing through the networks, and still your identity has been kept safe. So in order to keep it simple, I have just created this one, and you can see this is the Tor encryption model. Means this is your computer system, and the connection is going with the green line and with the relay nodes, and it will exit with exit node, and just then connect to the destination host. Suppose this is your computer and you are trying to use Google search. Then your connection will be going through this Tor relay nodes and the guard nodes, and then it will exit from this way, and then that connect with the Google. This is the Google server in this case. So your connection will be encrypted. As you can see, the green lines is the encrypted connections, and the red one is not encrypted. So this red one is insecure and the green one is secure. So what will happen in this case is that your IP address will not be exposed to this server. In this case, this is the Google server. So a Google server will not be able to identify that your what is your IP address. This server will get the IP address of this system exit node. So this is the complete model of the Tor browser, and this is the open project to browse anonymously and browsing untraceable and making the connections untraceable with the destination host. So you can also make your own relay nodes, and the more relay nodes in your area, the more connection will be safe from your side, and the others people using Tor will also be safe from the encryption technologies and any eavesdropping in your connection and any intercepting in your connections. So this is the basic things, and Tor model about how it is encrypted and encrypting your connections. So use the guidelines provided by the Tor project to be highly anonymous and fully untraceable. So thank you and all the best.
Hello and welcome penetration testers. As you have completed your course, a real world penetration testing, and what happens in penetration testing field, how to conduct from vulnerability assessment to exploitation and post-exploitation as well. Now, if you are going to conduct a penetration testing on the client side, you will obviously require base tools for the penetration testings. In this video, I will show you all of the base tools that can be used to conduct a base penetration testing and find a result, and also with remediation. So our first one is, this is the Forgery Bulb Suite professional version. As you can see, the professional edition is around 349 bucks. It offers a lot more options. The best one is the scanners that scans web application vulnerabilities, and it is really a perfect one to assess the web applications vulnerabilities. So going for testing web applications, you can opt for professional edition of Bulb Suite because it is really a best one for the web applications analysis. Now the second one is Tenable Network Security, that is Nessus Professional. As we have seen in the Nessus videos, it also collects some more vulnerabilities and have large vulnerability database to find the target system's weaknesses and also to provide a suggested patch. So this is also a good one in penetration testing and finding vulnerabilities, and it also gives you options how it can be exploited by simple few steps. It is comparable to Nexpose from Rapid7 organization. Now coming to the Nexpose, here you can see this is Enterprise Edition. Best things about Nexpose is that it also performs remediation. How it can be remediated? With a few steps, you can remediate the vulnerabilities and the weaknesses found. This is totally a vulnerability assessment and management. Now coming to the exploitation sections and finding vulnerabilities at high level. This is the core impact from the core security. This is really a beast for penetration testing and vulnerability assessment because it finds a large number of vulnerabilities even from a secure systems. You can get a demo from them and you can see how it performs and what is the benefit of using it. Almost every organization that is performing penetration testing at professional level use core impact to find the vulnerabilities and mitigate the risks. Now the next one is Immunity Canvas. This is from the Immunity organization. The best thing about what I like is it have more exploits than other in this category. And top of that, you will find such kind of exploits that is not even publicly published. Due to that fact, I like it the most for exploitations and penetration testing. As you can see on the screenshots how it performs and the capabilities of this tool. So if you are planning to go for professional penetration testing, then all these base tools, that is commercial tools, you must have in your arsenal and toolkit to save your valuable information and mitigate the risks. So thank you and all the best towards being a professional penetration tester. Hello and welcome. To be an stick in information security field and penetration testing field and any technology field, you need to be updated with your knowledge and information happening around the globe. As you have completed your penetration testing professional course, you are required to manage all your knowledge that you gained and also extend beyond the limit, because that is what a hacker and penetration testers are known for. This is one of the best online magazine that have almost every exploits, informations, knowledge, what you require to maintain your continuing education and your knowledge as well. Going to issues, you may find more than thousands of exploits, papers, how to exploit vulnerabilities relating to hacking and penetration testing. Like as you can see, the Adobe Shockwave, a case study on memory disclosure. You will find also buffer overflows, heap overflows, memory corruption, almost every kind of exploits and codings that are required to be a penetration tester. So simply go for this. You can maintain your education here and your knowledge as well. So here you can see this is the article that is discussing about what a vulnerabilities that was in the Windows XML format with the CVE code, vulnerabilities in the Microsoft XML. So this is detailed descriptions and total all in one package you may find here for yourself. So just follow the FRAC magazine and maintain your knowledge. Now the next one is the DerbyCon. It is more than a conference that is run by security guys in this field. So here you can also get training, maintain your knowledge like white papers, and also if you have got enough knowledge and experience, you can also go for providing your lectures and build your career in penetration testing field with name and fame. The next one is Black Hat. One of the best that I like. Black Hat conference have conferences and trainings almost every 1 to 2 months. The Black Hat ACI is going to be held at Singapore from 28th to 31st March in this year. So going for this one, if you are going to attend this one, it will be better for you. I recommend you to attend at least one time to see how to be in information security field, get trained by other professionals. Now as you can see, this is the practical approach to malware analysis and memory forensics. And similarly, you will get more training courses provided by one of the best trainers and the speakers around the world. Next one is DEF CON. This is also a superb conference that provides a lot more information. You can maintain your knowledge here by attending briefings and training. So my recommendation at last is for you all to maintain your knowledge and be in information security field and penetration testing, ethical hacking. You must be following all these conferences, magazines, and every security things that you like and that are really needed to be and maintain yourself in the information security field. Thank you. Hello and welcome. I'm going to show you how you can earn after you learn the penetration testing professional course, and also at the same time you will be exploiting the bug, finding vulnerabilities and exploiting, at the same time getting paid in dollars. Like as you can see, the Netgear is providing at this time responsible disclosure program that is paying $150 to $15,000 per bug according to the security severity. So you can just head towards the bugcrowd.com and you can test your knowledge and also exploit and earn in dollars. There are hundreds and thousands of bugs to test for the researcher, hackers, penetration testers has been listed here on daily basis. So you can find for yourself what you expertise, what you know more, and according to that you can exploit the vulnerabilities and get paid from the developers or the owner of that software, websites and the products. Thank you and all the best.